So the service that we're having today, which is the first time it's ever happened here, so it's kind of like trying something out, sharing something with you, and we'll see. I'll discuss it with the service committee on another day and see. But, my job is to bring you different things occasionally. So this is a service that started at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Kirkwood, Missouri. Have any of you ever been there or familiar with people from there? And when I was in the UU congregation in Birmingham, somebody described this service to me. It was one that congregation dearly loves, and they've been doing it every single year since 1976. And it's a bread sharing. It was an ethnic bread sharing service. So people came with bread from their family tradition or their ethnic heritage, and they share the story of the bread, and then we share the bread. It's called the bread communion. Sometimes I call it bread sharing ceremony if I think people are going to, if the ick factor happens when they hear communion, which sometimes happens in Unitarian Universalist congregations. But, there's a book in your library about communion, it's called the Communion Book, and it has all different kinds of communions that are celebrated in Unitarian Universalist churches, meaning that we come together as a community to share with one another, which is really the meaning of communion. And there are 4 that are fairly popular. I think you all have a flower communion, right? Flower communion, and a water communion, right? And there's also, there's this bread communion that a lot of congregations do, and then there's a fire communion, which, have you ever done the fire communion? So,
in Christmas, sometimes we do something. I don't know if it's the same thing or not.
Okay, well, we'll talk, and maybe we'll do the fire communion as a New Year's. It's like burning away things on flash paper. And the flower communion was the first, and it came to us from Norbert Chapek, whose life was taken in a concentration, or actually a medical experiment in Auschwitz. And so that ceremony was created to happen in June, when the flowers finally begin to show themselves in Czechoslovakia. But we have adopted it to use at Easter or springtime, because that's when our flowers come up and we celebrate new life, and it makes a nice Easter spring kind of service. These kinds of services build very special memories. So it's one of the reasons that on a day when our young people are invited to join us, that I like to do these kinds of services. One time I was up at the Mountain, our Unitarian Universalist Camp and Conference Center, where the ministers gather twice a year. They were gathering this week, but since I was here, I didn't go. But I usually am there with them. But Mark Morrison Reed, whose words I read earlier, he's African-American UU minister, and some of you may have read some of his books. His first one was Black Pioneers in a White Denomination. And then he's done significant history on Selma, and he has a book, and I don't remember the title, but it's about Selma, the march and all. But he grew up Unitarian Universalist in Chicago, and I grew up Unitarian Universalist in San Diego, and so we were talking about growing up Unitarian Universalist, and the one thing that stood out in our mind was flower communion. We have visual memory of that, of seeing the beautiful flowers. We have auditory memory of that, of certain songs that we sang every year. And so it touches people of all ages at different levels and different senses. So the bread communion is designed to help create some memories with some songs and something to look at. We have a beautiful loaf of bread up there, and then we'll taste some bread. So some of these are like special UU rituals that help us connect. In recognition of our Unitarian Universalist heritage and affirming the worth and dignity of every person and welcoming diversity, which, as I said, the original bread sharing ceremony or bread communion was an ethnic bread sharing community. We're going to sing our hymn before we fill our mouths with bread. This is something I learned after doing this several times. I would forget and put the hymn at the end of the bread, and then I'd say, after everybody's mouths are full, all right, let's rise and sing. So we're going to sing first. There's not really a sermon, okay? It says message in there, but this is it, all right? Because the message is going to be you, actually, if you're so inclined. In a minute, I'll invite you. But the song that we're going to sing, We're Going to Sit at the Welcome Table, comes out of the gospel tradition, and then it was adapted and used, and lots of verses were written during the civil rights time. Jackson, Mississippi, at one of the major events there, and just all throughout the country, like I said, with lots of different verses to reflect what was going on in civil rights. There's 3 verses in our hymnal, and we're going to sing those today. It's number 407, and I invite you to rise as your body or spirit allow as we sing this song. Sometimes we have to have church. Okay, so in the years that I've done this service, I've discovered that in the South, we ought to just have a cornbread communion. But we're going to celebrate and talk about diversity today. And I'm going to move over here because I need to... There's a microphone, but I need 2 hands. So somebody needs to come down here. Do you have a stand?
I'll hold it for you.
If you'll hold the microphone a minute.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm going to touch the bread, okay? So my hands are clean. All right, here, let me do this.
Yeah.
So from the beginning of time, the sign of friendship and welcome, the welcome reception of strangers has been the breaking of bread and the shared cup. In fact, the word companion comes from the Latin words meaning bread and together. So companion means being together with bread. We are a gathered community of friends and strangers. As we celebrate our bread communion today, may we be reminded of the nourishment we bring to one another through our friendship, through our living and loving commitment to the community we create together in this place. At this time, especially, we want to pay careful attention to the meaning of the words and the rituals that we do. As this bread, see this lovely loaf that Penny brought to us. What is this bread called?
This bread is called challah, and I see some of my friends that have visited and worked at Temple here, and it is a Jewish bread that is used every Friday night at Shabbat, at Sabbath, and broken every Friday night in a community. Often they have little kids come up and tear the first part after a blessing.
Thank you. As this bread was once scattered across the field and then through the effort of work gathered and brought forth to this table as nourishment, so may the people of our common earth, scattered across the fields of woe, be gathered through the marvelous effort of mercy into a world where neither nourishment nor justice nor love is rare. The ingredients of bread include corn, wheat, rice, symbolizing the staff and the strength of life, water, representing freshness and purity, yeast, raising the spirit, sugar, providing for the growth of the yeast, and salt, setting limits of the growth of the yeast, and eggs, which enrich and enliven the texture of the bread. All of these ingredients are mixed, kneaded, raised, punched down for a finer quality, then baked and cooled. So our common table is now laid with the breads of many heritages, our many strains brought together. But bread, like life, must be broken to be whole. It is through opening ourselves, breaking ourselves open to the possibility of pain and sorrow, as well as joy and celebration, that we come to experience life in its fullness. We come to understand and be able to empathize and to have mercy and justice. We become ourselves whole people. It is the times of brokenness that lead us to fulfill a purpose and to embrace and nourish the bittersweet of life. So if you came today with bread, or if you didn't come today with bread, but you're thinking now about a kind of bread that was always served, maybe at a family ritual, or it comes from your heritage. If you're thinking about that right now, because you know the holidays come and we just can imagine the smell of the wonderful bread in the kitchen. So if you're thinking about something like that right now, I invite you to come forward, and Penny will I'll hold the mic, and Penny's going to help pass bread, and so is Sarah. So we have some bread up here, and as soon as the stories are told, then we'll start to pass the bread. All right? And okay, so everybody hold your hands up. Do these hands touch the bread that other people are going to eat? No. So we have tongs, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a napkin on your lap, and then somebody who's passing the bread is going to put the tongs on the bread and put the bread on your lap, because we're not going to pass germs and flu and all around in the flu season, okay? All right.
You ready for us to start passing? Story. Are there any stories? Okay.
You see, this is the appropriate time to tell your stories, all right? Hint, hint.
I brought the focaccia, the rosemary olive oil focaccia, because our family has always come together with an Italian meal to sit and be with each other. And that's always been something I've made food with love, and that's why I brought that today.
That's awesome.
Now, which one is it?
Which one is it? The Picasso's again.
So I will take some of these and start passing that.
My story has to do with pasta, which is bread of sorts. Those of you who know me know that half of my heritage is Italian, and I just wanted to share the little joke with you that is, Italians eat pasta at every meal except breakfast. And I do believe the reason for that is, to them, it represents what bread represents in many of the other cultures.
So I didn't have a chance to make this recipe. I was planning to and then didn't have time. But it's my mom used to make 9 loaves of bread at a time because that's how many loaves would fit in our oven. And she had this big metal bowl like this. And she measured things by how many bags of them she would put in. So it was 4 bags of oats and a bag of flaxseed and a bag of flour. And that's how she measured them. And so when we moved away from the farm where I grew up, where we ate 9 loaves of bread on a regular basis, I had to measure. I worked with her to measure it out and figure out how many I could write it down so that I could make it not using bags and bags of things for a reasonable me-sized portion for just a few loaves. And so, but I grew up always wanting to, the middle step of the bread tasted like oatmeal because it was just brown sugar and butter and oats and the hot water, and then you added the yeast, and I would always like take a spoonful of it. And so I grew up with the bread being something like a ritual and a tradition, and I wanted to be able to keep doing that in a small scale. And so that's my bread story.
This is some kind of Italian bread that Lauren picked out. All the actual Italians in the family were too nervous to come up here for some reason. So this is their Italian bread. Although Lauren and I were talking about it on the way up, saying that if it was to be more accurate for our families, it would probably be the 99-cent Wonder Bread would actually be what we're bringing up here. I'm not sure if there's an actual heritage foundation for Lauren's family bringing this up here, but maybe if there is, she could talk about that in person. And then the other Inzaldos, they can also do that. But anyway, that's our bread.
Well, I'm Laura King, and my bread baking days have not been around for a while, but when my little babies were napping, and they're now parents themselves, so this was 30 plus years ago, I baked bread a lot, and the smell of baking bread and the kneading of bread, it all reminds me of my babies being sound asleep in their bedrooms, and that comfortable, warm, loving home that I was trying to make for them.
I hadn't even thought about this till now. Cinnamon rolls were something that my mother did at Christmas every year. And my brother and I loved it because, of course, she would make it in advance and punch it all down and put it in the refrigerator. And, of course, we ate that. So we would pinch it, and she would begin to say, we won't have bread if you don't leave the pinching alone. But it was delicious, and we knew it was bad for us, and it sits in your stomach, but that didn't matter because it tasted so good raw. What that's about, I don't know, but we loved it. She always made cinnamon rolls, and that was something that was traditional. And when she died, I tried to do that, and I couldn't get it together. So I stopped doing that. And a couple of years ago, I went to my daughter's house for Christmas. And she said, oh, Mom, I have something I've been doing lately. And I said, okay. And, of course, she had made cinnamon rolls. Homemade yeast cinnamon rolls. And we had never talked about cinnamon rolls before. So where that tradition came from for her, I don't know. It's just magical. Thanks.
Well, my bread, it's not a yeast bread, but it's pumpkin bread, and it's just Thanksgiving and for the season. It's just something we did. So, very simple.
It smells wonderful. Yes, it does.
Yeah, if we could get this going from two sides, that'd be good. Exactly.
When she's done with the song, I think it's appropriate to share.
It's been complete chaos back by place, so I'm afraid we didn't actually bring anything, but I wanted to speak anyway. Because while it's not technically bread, it is pretty similar to bread once it cools. And every Christmas, my mom will make baked cheese grits, and we will all laugh that the thing probably has enough butter and stuff in it to completely clog our arteries. And, I'm pretty sure we would make cornbread if any of us knew how to. But, yeah, every Christmas, we make a big old pan of baked cheese grits and then just eat off it for the holidays.
Wonderful. Thank you. Maybe. So doing something for the first time in a new place is always a little bit chaotic. Hopefully you got a flavor of the intention here. And I appreciate all of you who shared stories and who brought bread. Thank you. Our closing song was written as a Thanksgiving poem. I know it gets sung as a Christmas song, but it was written as a Thanksgiving poem by Lydia Marie Child, who was a Unitarian author and human rights champion. She's got a really interesting story. If you don't know about Lydia Marie Child, you might want to Google her. And the poem was inspired by her own memories of Thanksgiving at her grandparents' house. So the words will be on the screen, and we're going to sing Over the River and Through the Wood.
We
Thank you. In closing, I'll say, as we leave this space to regather for a delicious potluck to which all are welcome, I offer these words. Where there is hunger, may there be bread. And where there is bread, may there be hunger for justice. I understand those are words from a Nicaraguan prayer. May it be so. Amen. Go in peace.